That's yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So everybody, this was the most important team meeting of all time in the history of the world.
Those were my words exactly.
Typical realtor time is 5 minutes after.
We're running late.
You say we had food? Oh, see,
That was my mistake.
that's the key word. It's like catnip for realtors.
Oh, yeah. we got back in.
It would be really funny. It's like everything is haywire and sideways and it doesn't work.
I'm here and I'm like, it would be so funny for me. I'm already like,
Joey, you're late. God, darn it.
Exactly. You don't think that's the first time I heard that, do you? Good morning, Sam.
Oh. Huh?
Give it up 5 minutes.
Couple more people rolling in here.
Is that
How many people in this?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Okay.
James was Zoom meeting.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
Or you just have to admit.
Yeah.
People are already on.
Well.
So where did you go? You went to Iowa? Ohio.
Iowa.
Iowa. They're close to each other, right?
I think so. My husband's, but Jason and I state now, because he's from the Midwest. So when you're from the Midwest, you know all the states, but when you're from the West Coast, you know, it's just like that and the rest of them are just.
No, it's not that you don't know. It's we don't care.
Yeah,
We don't care. If you're east, like what? No.
yeah, no. So he bought us a state map, so he keeps timing us. It's like this, it's for 5-year-olds, but it's hysterical. So,
Did Jason go or no?
yeah, she's been,
Is that
yeah.
fun? Is that fun?
It was fun when we got there, but we literally left Wednesday morning early, got up in the air, 45 minutes, turned around because of mechanical problems,
That's fun.
missed our connection, came home, had to go the next day. And then on the way home, like delayed, missed our connection, had to stay overnight in Dallas. It was a hot mess, so. But Monday afternoon is recovering today. I was exhausted. It's all good.
All right, guys, we're gonna get this party started. People are gonna keep rolling in. I have some messages from people that said, I'm on my way. That means they're really just leaving. So I know Joe's gonna be here and a few other people.
I was on the way. I
You're-
was in
you
the
are?
process. I was in the process.
There's Joe. See, all right, now we can start. Joe's here. Joe's here. Are you sitting up there? Are you sitting up here? What do you want to do this? I can sit down there. No? Oh, all right.
I'm not in the
Hey.
mental state to do that right this second. My brain
Yes.
is still a little working.
Joe, you want to run the meeting? You want to run the meeting?
It's time to take over. It's okay.
All right, it's August 21st. Does it feel like August 21st? Because it does not feel like August 21st. I don't know. It's getting up there. So let's start off with tell me something good. Let's start with something positive, something good that's happened in the last week. It can be business, it can be personal. I'll start it off. Went to Mega Camp last week. It was amazing. Tracy was on stage with Jay Papasan, the author of The One Thing, with 2 other people talking about farming. She actually went online and got these wristbands that say in my KW era and gave them to Gary, Jay, and Jason, which I thought was really cool. And 2 of them wore them. Jason did not wear them. He's a jerk. But it was really cool. She got instant notoriety from people when she came off the stage. People were asking her for autographs and taking photos with her. And it was a really, really good time. It was way smaller than it ever has been. Would you say that, Jody? It was super small, right? Yeah, so it was super small. But we had a really, really fun time. It's always good. Has anybody been to Austin? Anybody? Terry Black's barbecue, have you been there? Yeah, so yeah. I
ate it just before I got on the plane.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Get it tight.
I'm like taking photos of my meat to show my trainer and just kind of trying to like not show the mac and cheese.
Did you go to Perry's Steakhouse?
I went to Dean's Steakhouse.
We've been to Paris in the past.
Last year we went to Dean's for the Forward Living thing.
Yeah, then we've been to Paris.
I didn't think I was there.
So.
Yeah. I don't know, there's too many good restaurants out there, but that was an amazing time. We had a really good time. Anybody else, something good or positive that happened last week? Come on, don't make me extract this out of you people. Joe, you're always good with something. Come on.
I had accepted offer on one of my listings.
Here we go. Yes.
Today I came to know that one of my escorts might cancel today, so it's.
No, this is something good. Okay, no, we're, no.
Yeah, now I can double it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. Glenn, you were getting ready to speak up. What do you got? I think you were. What do you got? Talk to me, son.
I'm very happy to be here today.
I'm very happy that you are here today.
Last week was a good week for everyone. This week's gonna be a better week.
There we go.
There you go.
All right.
Manifestation.
There we go. Anybody else? Tammy went on a little vacation. Was it a vacation? What was it?
Yeah, so it was my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary and
So
then.
they've been married for 50 years.
Oh, isn't that great?
Do you have like a
Wow.
one sheet on that, on like how that works?
You know what,
'Cause-
my parents have been married, let's see, for their 60th is coming up. Next,
Do they talk?
next year. They're awesome. They're so busy.
Some people just, it works that way, friend.
Don't make me start interviewing you on this. I've interviewed you on this one-on-one. It'd be very interesting for the crowd.
Transparent.
So,
So in Iowa, what is there to do? What did you guys do that was
well,
fun?
we were supposed to go to the fair.
Yeah,
The Iowa
Iowa
State
State.
Fair is like the biggest fair in the nation, but we missed our flight, the drama. But I got to see my 28-year-old son, who, I think I mentioned this before, he's had like 3 open heart surgeries and just recovered in October, and he's doing fabulous and just bought a new house, and so we got to see him. So it was good. It was great. He's doing really, really well, and we're super grateful and praise God that he's good.
congratulations. That's good. That's. All right, I won't force any more information out of you guys. We can move on to the next thing that we have here. So quote of the day. So I listen to a podcast. This is probably my favorite podcast. It's called My First Million. It's a couple of internet entrepreneurs that are out there, and there's no theme to the podcast. It's all business related or whatever, but they ended up getting into a fight, and they came onto the podcast to talk about their fight. And it was this whole relationship thing that was super interesting to me. And one of the things that they said is that you're the hero in your own story and you are the enemy in someone else's. And I thought that was super interesting because it's absolutely true. We all have a story that we're telling ourselves. And the thing is that we assume that we know what the story is being told by the other person, but they have another story in their head that they're talking about and thinking about. But we always assume, and we mismanage relationships all the time based on something like this. We think people hate us. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but you just never know. And so I always think when you get into an argument with somebody, you always think that you're the hero, but everybody else has a different perspective. And in a business like what we have, where relationships are super, super valuable, I think this is something to be self-aware of, to find out, like, in any relationship, what could you have done better? What could you have done different? What could you have done to make the situation more whole for everybody involved? Yes, sir.
You know, I'm 35 right now.
No, you don't look
I
a day
know.
over 29,
I
buddy.
know, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty young. But
You are.
yeah, in my 20s, you know, in my thirties, I realized that, you know, you have to take a little bit of a break to analyze the situation.
Mhm.
Like maybe give yourself, if someone says something wrong, you have to stand back and then like think, you know, think twice with your actions.
That's 100%.
You know, that's what I learned in my twenties, I made mistakes. And now in my thirties, I think before I react, you know.
That is some very sage advice right there. And I think that one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is that a lot of times when somebody says something to you, when you react, that is not always the best. Taking a beat to listen to what's actually happening. And then instead of reacting to what someone says, ask a question. Ask a question to create clarity about the situation and anything that's happening around the situation. And a lot of times you'll find out something that you didn't know. So that's actually really good. Thank you, Joseph. All right, keep this party rolling here. So we have two new agents to join the office, Ray and Amir. So welcome to Ray and Amir.
Yeah, Amir's on.
Oh, Amir, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
How are you doing, sir? Welcome aboard.
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. I wish I was 30 like the prior gentleman that was talking.
It's your birthday today.
His birthday.
My birthday. 47. So I'm involved in the mortgage business. But you know, I have a passion for real estate, and I thought that when everyone's so scared of being in the real estate business, it's time to kind of jump into it. So have a family. I have a daughter and a son. I live a couple miles from the office, like a 2-mile walk. So glad to be on board with you guys.
How long have you been in business?
20 odd years, 20,
Nice.
23 years.
Well, welcome aboard and happy birthday. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love the perspective of, while everybody else is seeing it as a
Yeah.
challenge, Amir sees it as an opportunity, right? I think that's a great perspective, really powerful.
well, I mean, honestly, if you want to look at everything, you should look at everything as an opportunity. When you think about things being negative and you think about things being positive, that's a construct of us. Like humans have created negative and positive. They've created hard, they've created easy. It's all a construct. And if you just look at everything as an opportunity, like it'll put you in a better mind space and in a better situation to actually achieve more.
There's some choice in there.
Yep, there's Sheena, Amir, Benson, Kevin, Charlotte. Charlotte here? Thought I saw her. Ice down. Josh is another, Josh, you break it, you buy it, Josh. And Kevin Hatanaka. So happy birthday to everybody.
Happy birthday to me.
Wait.
Hold on. Hold on. Ready? You gotta click it. This is not going well. There we go. You guys, 25?
Yes.
That's awesome. You look fantastic.
Thank you, dear.
What did she get?
A flaky.
A what?
That's a London thing.
We're not inviting you to these things anymore. We're not.
It's a Cadbury chocolate.
So are you doing anything for your birthday?
Did already had some Italian food and some flowers.
Do you go to a special restaurant? Do you have your husband cook for you?
Pomodoros, I love pomodoros.
Pomodoros.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we had takeout because
Is your husband taking you to someplace fun?
no, I'm going to Hawaii next, in the next.
Treat yourself.
With my mom and.
Which city?
Wow.
Where?
A while.
Yeah. One
Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't have this.
I love the smiles.
She's very bedazzling, like she can bedazzle any slide.
That was nice, thank you.
Thank you. So we have Chris Vogt in I think I've finally figured out how to say his name. I was saying
Good job.
something else. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
You got anything good for us today? What's happening? I feel like we all survived August 17th, right?
Well,
You know,
so
honestly, so I'm tongue in cheek. That's not true. We haven't survived it. There's a whole bunch of like herding cats going on right now and a whole bunch of people freaking out that nobody's seen yet. But my thing is just wait. The fun is yet to come. But what do you got for us, Chris?
Yeah, so I appreciate that. And actually, before I jumped on today, there was imagine that there was a bold law that popped in my head, and it was this: change the way you look at things, and things you will look at change. And then Joe piped in, Frank, you piped in around how we think ultimately controls how we act or react, for sure. So without question, this is not a negative thing. This is called reality. And I agree that there is opportunity in this for the people that want to do the work and gain the understanding. So I was talking to a good friend of mine yesterday who is a leader at a very large real estate brokerage. And some of you may be old enough to remember this, but back in 1985, there was a shuttle disaster in America. And for those of you who remember that, everything was fine on that mission that morning until they told the pilot to go to throttle up, which meant increase the speed. And it was only one little crack in the fuselage. There was only one little crack in the fuselage that caused that disaster to happen. Now, why do I bring that up? Because the way you go into any change, significant change, if you have cracks in your fuselage, so to speak, lack of understanding around the real estate purchase contract and all those fundamental things we should have known going into this, the bigger the challenge in this change. Okay. Now, the good news is this: regardless of how we went into this change, we have the opportunity today to make a concerted effort to do some things differently. So in the Zooms that I've participated in many with you over this last, well, I guess almost 3 weeks now, there's been 3 words that I've keyed on. And the 3 words are this: understand, communicate, and implement. Understand, communicate, and implement. So the question I always ask an audience to think about is, where am I at relative to the new world, the changes that we're in? Okay. So do I understand first what the heck has really happened? And if you don't really, it's incumbent upon all of us to really jump in full gas. Okay. I talked to an agent, actually an assistant of an agent this morning, who called me, and she was freaked out, and she said, there's so much change. And I said to her, change the way you look at things you look at change. And then we continue our discussion. So it's really important to break this down into bite-sized chunks, that you understand that while there are changes that have impacted our industry, number one, there aren't all these new forms. Okay? There's a single concept, and that is essentially this: that buyer-seller compensation has now been separated. And all the forms, there's only a handful. There's about 6, actually. There's only about 6 forms. Some of those forms are 1 page long. So if you were on the Zoom yesterday, you heard that. So it's important to, in your mindset, the way we think, if we continually tell ourselves there's all these forms, there's going to be all these forms. This will never work. All those things that we go through. So I love what Frank and Joe were talking about where you're going in. So if your mind is made up that this is complicated, I can't understand it, and that's exactly what's going to happen. But the thing that I know, and this is a beautiful thing about Keller Williams, change the way you look at things you look at change. So it's important for you as a professional in this business to know the stuff inside and out. Okay. So whether it's the Zoom opportunities, whether it's the videos that I've produced, which not much production, by the way, it's incumbent upon you to block the time in your calendar to become a subject matter expert in what the heck's going on. Because if our industry is dazed and confused, imagine how the consumer must feel. They're looking to us to explain to them specifically what's going on. Okay. Yeah, so that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to just touch on briefly is this: the word concession. Now, when you go in to enter a listing into the multiple listing, you might get a warning if you say, for example, seller will consider concession up to, let's just say, $10,000. Okay. The system is going to set up a flag to think, because it thinks you're talking about commission. So you can, CAN, talk about concessions, and you can talk about specific amounts of concessions in the multiple listing service. The AI, it's scrubbing all this, thinks you're talking about commission when it sees a number. Okay. So provided you do not mention the word compensation or commission or do anything that ties it to a commission or compensation, you can, with your seller's permission, by the way, you can talk about concessions and specific amounts that they will consider. Now, there's two sides to concessions, because some of the calls that I've gotten in the last week around this has been, I called the other agent, the agent told me that the seller would, the seller would pay 2.5. Okay, and then I'd get the call and they'd say, hey, they double crossed me because I wrote the offer. Now they're countering the commission. Can they do that? What's the answer to that question? Can they do that?
Yes, yes.
Yep. So all the forms that have been created as an attempt to make this easier on all of us, don't do the trick. So whether we like it or not, the reality of it is buyer and seller compensation has been completely separated. That's why we must get broker representation and compensation agreements. In listing agreements, remember the listing agreements are for seller compensation only. I had an agent reach out to me this morning to said, hey, my TC told me that I completed this listing agreement. I'd like to have you look at it. Unfortunately, I'm sure the TC advice was well intended, but it was flat wrong, because they interpreted the provision in the listing agreement that talks about unrepresented buyers, the additional compensation that you can add, as a dual agent, and that's not what that is. So it's really important that you break this down. You understand concessions, you understand the rules, and as many of you had, if you're not sure, ask me. There's so much misinformation. A lot of it's well-intended, but there's a lot of misinformation. And in our own business practice, we do use a transaction coordinator. However, we don't learn from our transaction coordinator. We work with our transaction coordinator. We provide the education to our transaction coordinator. So if you find yourself in a position where you're asking your transaction coordinator about how the deal should be written or what this forms means, that simply says to me that I need to step up my game. You need to know more, because you're the licensee, you're the fiduciary, than your transaction coordinator. Okay. And everyone's capable of doing that, but you've got to stick your nose in the forms and you got to read the forms. So you're going to hear from me over and over and over again. You got to read the form. You got to read the form.
I mean, that's a lot of,
yeah. So
that's a lot of really good. I will tell you this right now, that there's, within the last week, there's been 2 veteran agents that have screwed up on the buyer agent commission. I say screwed up is that they put in 2% that the seller was willing to work with. And then all these agents showed up and she was like, oh, no, that was a mistake. They're not giving anything. And then I had another agent tell me that they were the listing agent. They offered 2.5%. The buyer agent submitted a form for 2% and then submitted some other form. It ended up coming out when the escrow came out to where the buyer agent was getting $675. $675. And then when she realized that, she tried to back out of it, and the agent's like, you sent me these forms. So, like I said, don't do a video on the NAR settlement. Don't do a video and put it out to the public. If you want to act as the professional and look as the professional with your clients, you call your clients first and let them know after you've learned everything, after you've read everything. And if you are unsure about anything, ask a question. This guy is so available and so knowledgeable that, you know, I'm impressed on his accessibility and his information that he's giving out. So there is no reason that I think for you not to reach out to him and ask a question if you are unsure in the smallest amount, because, you know, my big conspiracy theory is somebody else created this whole situation that we're in right now to confuse the holy crap out of us, when in reality, not a lot has changed.
Yeah.
A lot has changed.
Gonna make less money, but.
No. That's, if you make less money, that's your fault.
Exactly.
This is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to show how good you are. This is an opportunity for you to get more clients. This is an opportunity to have more conversations. And so if you don't look at it like that, I don't think it'll help you. But thank you, Chris. I appreciate your time. And
absolutely appreciate yours. Yep, anything, one quick last thing, if it hasn't already gone out, it will be, I'm doing a little special session on this Friday, called I Still Need Help. And we'll do a lot of Q&A around all these things. And then beyond that, the schedule that will begin for the tail end of August and into September. And I will be down live to visit many of you, hopefully in the middle of September. Frank and I are working on some special fun things around that. But we're going to begin to segue into how do you utilize your knowledge, skill, and expertise to demonstrate and articulate your value so you can get more business, do better business, and have a better life.
That's awesome. I still
Cool.
need help. You might get some calls that have nothing to do with real estate transactions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what a t-shirt.
I might call you,
This
so.
is, I still. need help.
All right, thank you so much, Chris.
All right, have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Productivity update, Tammy Brunel, what's going on?
Yeah, so I've got a class, I think it's next Wednesday, the 28th, right, Sandy? Okay, still coming off vacation mode. I called it Realtor Rehab. I think with all the changes, there's a lot of people that are in 3 stages. We've got the denial phase where you're just not acknowledging it at all, and then you're gonna have a deal, and then you're gonna be freaking out. Or you're in the grieving phase where you know it's here and you are just still not wanting to deal with it. And then the other one is in acceptance, but you're still really not knowing how to properly explain this. And I think that that's where the big challenge, and that's where I'm gonna start with this course, is being able, you have to understand it yourself, right? And you have to be able to articulate it at a 5th grade level so the consumer understands it. And how do you go about doing that? I have written a script that's really good. I coach about 50 agents on Tuesday mornings for a role play. They've been doing it for about a week. It's working really well on how to explain it to the sellers so they understand the commission, what has changed, and what their options are. Because that's another problem that agents are having a challenge with, is how to explain and make them understand that it's still important to pay a buyer's agent commission, and why, right? Because when you ask the seller, have you heard about the lawsuit? What are they gonna say? Yeah, I heard that I don't have to pay a buyer agent commission.
Yep.
And then how many of you know what your response is to that? And a lot of the agents don't. So I'm gonna be teaching that. And then the second half will be how to get your buyer to sign that buyer broker agreement, and how to navigate what percentage. And if you're in a new build area, how to add that to your buyer agent, because new builds, as the market continues to get a little bit more challenged, they're gonna be offering 4, 5, 6%. Your buyer's agency says 3%. Guess what you're gonna get?
Yeah.
3%.
Or 675.
Did I say that?
When is this class?
Next Wednesday.
Okay.
Next Wednesday.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. All right, what do we have next? We have, there you go.
There you go.
That's it. August 28th. Clearmark Title is Jerry on? Jerry's not on. Clearmark Title for all your title needs. You can contact Jerry. Is he still in Italy or did he come back?
No, he's back.
All right. Never know. But that's his contact information. Let us know if you have need any information on him. We have Old Republic update, Gloria Navarro's Gloria.
No, but she wants to do a class next month and she's gonna bring my lawyer. about-
An attorney, we love attorneys.
Yeah.
We love attorneys. We're gonna have an attorney in-house for Old Republic. And she's always good with bringing food, so you guys can all reserve your spot for that. We have,
It's your love language.
so next Wednesday, like I said, you guys have all seen my headshot. If you can make me look good, you're really talented at what you do. And this is these are the photographers that I have used. They're not here to take your headshot. They're here to talk to you about branding. They're here to talk to you about your digital image and how that's being put out into the world. These are amazing. Any amazing photos that you have seen, I can tell you that they have a part in some of them. They're really good people too. Some of Tracy's recent photos and things that she's done, they took care of, and when I saw them, I'm like, oh my God, these are amazing. So this is gonna be good. They're gonna be at the team meeting next week, and it's gonna be a fun time. Bold. All right, so I got a very powerful phone call from our regional director today, and I told him to come today at 10 a.m. and he had a class, or he had something going on to where he couldn't make it. But tomorrow is the second step to Bold. Who went to the first step? Come on, more people went to the first step. Joe, are you going to the second step? You guys should all go to the second step. Second step is tomorrow, it's at the Beverly Hills Community Center. That's the QR code that you can scan to join. If you have questions about it, I can have Richard reach out to you. If you sign up for the second step, Richard is going to do a one-on-one coaching session with you. And I mean, he's a $162 million producer. He's been #1 for as long as I know in LA, and it's super valuable. And if you join, the office is going to pay you back. Your first 2 transactions, uncapped from Bold, you're going to get $400 on each transaction back. So it's basically free. So I would love for you guys to sign up. If you have any questions, let me know. Richard made me promise that I would pitch this for you. So don't make me look bad. Glenn, not saying any names. Joseph, not saying any names. But it's worth it. Bold is the best training program out there in real estate, not just Keller Williams. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. All right, keep this party rolling here. New listings. We have Joseph Sunich. Where's he? I sent Joseph. Joseph, 5,500 lease in Tarzana. Where did you get that business from, sir?
We just bought this property with the client, eventually.
Where'd you find the client from? Past clients, sphere of influence. I love it. Alper and Joe Hauser, 4750. Joe, just say it so the people in the back can hear. Sphere of influence. I love it. We have Kayvon, Montgomery Avenue in Lake Balboa, 5,200. Kayvon again for 3,800 on Montgomery. Is that? It's the same one.
What is
It's
the
the same
first
one.
one?
How is that the same one?
I don't know.
Okay,
The one is for 3,800 and the one.
It's a different.
I'll take the 3,800. That seems like the deal.
Maybe it's the same
So-
address.
No, it's duplex, that's why.
It's a duplex?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll still take the 3,800 one. Inflation and all. Eliza and Mona on Union Avenue for $3,495,000. Congratulations to them. Eliza and Mona again for 1.195 on Western Avenue. Congratulations to them. We have Pardian, Harlesden Court, Los Angeles, 3.85 million. Congratulations on that. Nina Semagolina, 5,500 on Havenhurst, and then Patsy Clevenger, Columbia Way, Lancaster. Yes, we sell them everywhere. $595,000. So congratulations. $595. It's almost the price of a car these days. We have closings. We have Shoku for 8,500. Congratulations. Where did you find that client, ma'am?
That was for the sale, if you remember, and then we got the full offer, but they didn't accept it. They changed their minds, then I rented.
So they
right
rented.
away, yeah.
I'm telling you, people, the renting part's getting a little scary right now. So congratulations, and I'm sorry at the same time.
No,
David Israeli, we didn't sell,
yeah, but I will sell.
but you will, because that renter will go and then you'll sell. it. So
Yeah, yeah.
David Israeli on Blackburn for 5,200. Giselle, 4,000. Where's she at? Where's she? I thought I said. Congratulations on that. Where'd you get that client from? Spirit
My
of
neighbor's daughter.
Neighbor's daughter. See, look, the business is next door, literally. Lena Semagolina, 5,950 in Come. Astrid, 1.3 on Chimeneas. Astrid, where you are? Congratulations. This is your second or first?
Yes,
And where did you get the client from?
from Spirit.
Sphere of influence. Congratulations on that. And then David Israeli again on Blackburn for 5,000. That it's the same one again. That's I'll take the cheaper one. All right. Lena Semagolina, 639,000 on Goshen. Joseph C units, 1,075,000. Congratulations. Where did you get that client, sir? Past clients. See, the whole SOI thing works. It's weird. Charlotte on Reeves for 3,800 in Beverly Hills, and David Israeli for 3,600. Congratulations, everybody. That's great stuff happening. Joan, welcome. I just want to make sure you knew I saw you. How you doing? All right, market update. So we're gonna do something a little different today. You guys ready? I want to talk about myself, because I never do that. Glenn, don't you laugh at me. Saw that. All right, so a lot has
Real
been.
estate
Oh,
agents, I'm Trevor, and I want to share something that's totally changed the way I handle my open houses. This is ratemyopenhouse.com. It's my secret weapon for running smooth, efficient open houses. I can set everything up in just a few clicks. And check this out. One QR code for all my listings. Visitors can scan in and their feedback goes straight into my account. Plus, it's all integrated with my CRM, so I never miss a lead. And the custom feedback forms, total game changer. Want to thank your guests for stopping by? You can send them a digital gift card directly through ratemyopenhouse.com. It's the perfect way to leave a lasting impression. If you're in real estate, you've got to try ratemyopenhouse.com.
all right, so I did not know that was gonna play right away. So this is a company by a close friend of mine that I think is phenomenal. I would love for you guys to check it out. Go to the website, take a look at it. It helps you get feedback for your open house. And then if you want to give a gift card or a Starbucks card to the people that are coming through, it is a really, really good tool because, you know, and for everybody that hasn't listened, this is my giveaway, my open house giveaway program that I do, is that I put up a sign that say I'm giving away a $10 Starbucks gift card for anybody that gives me feedback. And then I give them a little feedback form for them to give me feedback. And I tell them a drawing is going to be done at the end of the open house. You don't have to be present to win. And then everybody puts in their stuff. And at the end of the open house, this is the trick. Guess who wins? Well, you know, because I told it to you before. Jeez. Jeez. Everybody wins. So you literally call everybody and you say, hey, congratulations, you just won the Starbucks gift card. And now you actually have a conduit to create a relationship and give $10. I mean, if somebody was like, hey, you can create a relationship and it costs you $10 per person, would you do it? Yeah. Yes, that's a yes for everybody. And so that's a way to do that. This makes it super easy. You do this on an iPad, you hand them the iPad, you can literally send them the Starbucks gift card in real time. It's a really cool thing. I think they're working to have it integrated with Command. That's the website. If you have questions about it, let me know afterward, okay? All right, so back to what I was saying before. I want to talk about me for a second. You guys all have a minute to talk about me?
Yes.
So can we, I don't want to push this and make that start again. Can you do the next slide?
I won't start.
All right, there we go. All right. Some of you may know some of these logos, some of you may not. So a number of years ago, I had an idea to come up with a coaching company because I did a lot of coaching in the office. And you guys get all my stuff for free, it didn't cost anything or whatever, but I had people from outside of the company, outside of California, asking me for my stuff. And so I decided to create an online company called the Real Estate Coaching Club. And, you know, it's gotten a little bit of traction. I haven't been putting a ton of information into it. A couple people here, I asked for you guys to take a look at it and give me some feedback. I have a podcast that nobody knows about. It's the worst podcast on the planet. I try to put good content on there. I'm learning. And the one thing I had a revelation is that I went to Mega Camp and I'm literally standing at this thing. They had a CEO summit where all the people went to look. And I'm literally standing at a thing, texting, and a guy from across the room comes over and he goes, Frank? I go, yeah. He goes, Real Estate Coaching Club? I go, yeah. And he's like, you have a podcast. And he just started telling. The thing with a podcast is that it's really, you don't know who's really listening to it unless you have YouTube. So he came up to me, he totally listened to everything I did, watched all my videos, and it was a very interesting moment for me. The guy came from Spain where Tracy and I did a bunch of transactions. When he came out to Spain, I have an email from him saying the reason that he went into luxury real estate in Spain was because he listened to a couple of my podcasts and it inspired him to take risks and to challenge himself. And I was just like, that is super cool. So I have little things randomly like this that have happened with this, but it's been from everybody outside of Keller Williams and outside of the company because you guys, again, get all my stuff for free. Other people have to join or pay for it. So that's been going very well. Within the last 2 months, I have been a team leader since 2016. Does anybody know what the life cycle of a team leader is on average? Wow, you guys do know. I was gonna say, Josh, what's the life cycle of a team leader? But it's 2 years. I've been doing it since 2016. It's a long time. I'm like that. I'm an old man in team leader years. And so what I did in the last couple of years, every time I've moved from office to office, I've had to create a way to recruit people and to bring people on. And so I'll come into areas that I didn't know people. I'm like, well, how do I get more at-bats and more recruiting leads? And so I created this program that's been working out really well for me. And I'm thinking, you know what? If I did what I did with the real estate coaching club and I go out to the world and I go, hey, I have something that can help you recruit people. Would you be interested? I talked to 10 different offices and 10 different offices said yes, 100% without question and signed up. I'm like, I might have something here. And then it's been gaining traction and gaining traction and gaining traction and gaining traction. And it's gotten to the point to where it's very important for me to make a decision. And so the reason I asked everybody to be here today is because I can only juggle so many balls. And one of the things that I've decided to do is at the end of this month will be my last day as a team leader in the Keller Williams Westside office.
You're leaving?
I am.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm staying because of you.
Don't stay because of me. Don't stay because of me. I am just a conduit of all the information that's amazing in this place. You should be here because of the amazingness that happens here. So I've had a conversation with Joey and Paul and Josh and everybody with Forward Living weeks ago to kind of get prepared. Because the one thing I didn't want to have happen is what's happened to you guys in the past. People just disappear. People just, Joe, you know what I'm talking about. Joe's been here through the wars, right? You've been here through everything. Shoku, you as well. I didn't think it's fair that you guys show up one day and I'm just not here. That's not right. You guys are people. We have relationships. Like, I will always be available to you. You can always reach out to me for advice. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just not going to be here every day. And so I reached out to them. We put it all together. We came up with a plan because all of you guys are very important. And so what was really important is that when I step out on not this Friday, but next Friday will be my last day, is that there's someone here to be here for you. And you're not left with Joe. Because, you know, good Lord, I don't want to be left with Joe.
I don't want to be stuck.
So what they did is that they have an opportunity to get into business with somebody that knows the West Side very well, that's been running real estate companies very successfully in the past and has made a decision to come to Keller Williams, and they thought he would be a fantastic leader for you guys after I stepped out of the role. So I wanted to take the chance to tell you that I'm stepping out to run a business called Recruiting Boss and my real estate coaching club. I am still always going to be available. You guys all have my contact information, but I wanted to introduce you to the new person that would be stepping up in my place at the end of the month. Are you guys ready to meet him?
Yes.
Yeah.
So his name is Scott Carmody, and he's sitting right there. So if everybody could give me a round of applause for Scott.
Okay, and this is why Frank's like, you don't have to be here.
Before we introduce Scott, I wanted to say tremendous thank you to Frank for everything that you've done here. There was, as you mentioned, a lot of, bumpy water. And you've come in and done a phenomenal job in terms of creating a workspace that is conducive to what realtors do and need to do, including from a baseline and then including education and all that sort of thing, so that folks can take their business to the next level. And in addition to that, one thing that Frank didn't mention is we've been in business with Frank for a while and want to continue to be in business with Frank. And Frank is our, while not having time for the day-to-day of running an office so that he can focus on his dreams and passion and his next step. He is the general manager of our Bakersfield office, where he does a great job with a lot less time because it's not the day-to-day. There's a team leader there. And Frank's continuing as our general manager in Bakersfield. So our relationship with Frank is continuing on, and that I know will be the same. That will extend the relationship to the current agents.
And I'll just add, I've had the good fortune of working very closely with Frank as a team leader of Beverly Hills, and then I help oversee all the forward living offices. And
I think you guys all know and that know Frank, I think vast majority, if not all of you do, wears his heart on his sleeve, pours into his people. You know, he's a true leader, and leadership is about putting others first, and then Frank definitely does that. So he will remain a big fundamental part of our whole group, you know, as Paul just said. So we're excited to see Frank continue to grow and thrive in his ambitions and goals, and also, you know, an opportunity to help serve a lot of other people as well. So I know it was a difficult decision for Frank as well, because he does really love you guys and care about this, and has put a stamp on this office. And, you know.
And also wanted to make sure that the
It was left in.
incoming, the incoming leadership is of the caliber and quality necessary to continue on with what Frank was doing. And
Neither Frank nor us were ever gonna leave it without making sure we had someone
for sure.
that was of a very high standard. So I think that was very important, first and foremost, to Frank, and of course to us as well, so.
And then timing is interesting because we were already in discussion with Scott Carmody and his team, because Scott comes with an absolute world-class marketing person who's on vacation because he had planned a vacation long in advance, but we'll be back shortly. And then also an operations person that ran three Compass offices, including the one right in Brentwood. So we were doing that already from a forward living perspective. It was not necessarily our idea to do this so quickly, but when the thing with Frank and his next step came up, we already were deeply in discussion with his team. So that timing sort of worked well. Yeah, correct. But I did not want to let you introduce Scott without saying
Acknowledging,
what tremendous gratitude to you and respect and acknowledgement of all of the skill and heart and effort that you poured into this office.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll
Scott Cody, coming up.
thank you, Scott.
Tell us all about you.
All about me. First of all, good morning. Thank you for having me here today and some of my agents that have come along. I wish that Robert and Anthony could be here. Anthony from marketing, Robert from operations. Robert is at a doctor's appointment. He'll probably be here shortly after. And Anthony is out of the country on a well-deserved vacation. So I've been doing this about 35 years. I started as an assistant. And then I was a buyer's agent, and then I was a full partner. And then we started a company called Partners Trust back about 15 years ago. And that was really, really huge in the formation of a lot of the concepts that I use today. Because to me, it's all about the people. And, everyone is motivated by agenda. So listening to Frank talk this morning, I get that his agenda was to make you guys the best agents you can be. And I love that because it's going to be a tough act to follow. And I'm glad that Frank is staying close because I'm going to have a lot of questions. But in my world, if I support the people support the company. So staff, you've got Sandy, who is unbelievable in the little bit of time that I've gotten in Mower, I'm like, and Robert too. Robert says the same thing. So support the staff support the agents. And I love, I was talking with Josh about this. When did you reach out? About 8 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Most recently, I had been with Avenue 8 for about 3 years. It was a completely different model for me to jump into, and I loved it. And we made huge strides there. And we learned some really, really good lessons that sort of proved a point. And Avenue H shuttered brokerage at the end of June to focus on technology because they've got some really great tech that nobody is going to buy if they have a brokerage. So it was a very smart decision to close brokerage and focus on the tech. And immediately Josh starts calling me, the phone's blowing up.
And let me just say this, I call him because I'm calling the agents and all the agents are like, I'm waiting to see what Scott's gonna do, which told me a lot about the relationship that Scott had with his agents. That's a very important point. And then I'm like, I just gotta go directly to Scott.
You did. And it was funny because I interviewed so many brokerages. I interviewed 36 brokerages. There were 12 more that I said, I don't have the bandwidth to talk to you, to interview. I appreciate it. I wish you well, but I'm too busy for this. And Josh was just relentless. You know, any of you that have worked with Josh know that. So I met with him just to get rid of him. And Josh and Paul were there. And in, I don't know, 8 minutes, I'm sitting in that meeting going, oh my God, I want to know more about this. I had never been in the Keller family. So this was all new. And over the years, a lot of people said, you'd really be good at Keller Williams because you love to teach and you love the contract and the negotiation and the strategy and the mindset. And that's what they're all about. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then we sat and talked for 2.5 hours. And I texted Josh that night, driving home from that meeting. I'm like, all right, I got to know more. I can't get this out of my head now. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but I want to know more. So we continue the meetings. And here we are. And I'm glad that the timing worked out well. You know, Frank moving on to his new gig, because the office that I was looking at is outside of my grill work. Like, I'm a Westside guy. I started in Sunset Strip, moved to Santa Monica, Brentwood, Beverly Hills, back and forth, Brentwood and Beverly Hills for years and years and years. And it feels like I'm home here. You know, like, it's quick and easy to get to. My wife made a comment. She's like, how's your drive? And I said, 5 minutes more than what it used to be. And she's like, oh, that's not bad. So thrilled to be here. I love real estate. I love that every single day we deal with different things. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. It gets very boring for me, and this never gets boring. So I like to solve problems, but I prefer to avoid problems. So my whole thing is, we sit down and we talk and we figure out what your situation looks like. How do we avoid getting into one of those problems? And we just work through it. And it's generally pretty easy to do. And I'm a big fan of the goodwill of our industry. So if you start a transaction with a full glass of goodwill, and when you close that transaction, you still have at least a half a glass of goodwill left, that's a really good transaction. And there's no reason for the animosity that we have so often in brokerage. The ego gets involved. And I always ask the question, well, okay, what's the ego tied to? What is the agenda? Because everybody has an agenda. And if we realize that we're all partners, you know, if you represent a seller and I represent a buyer, the moment we start working together, we're partners. And we want the same result out of that transaction. Why do we make it harder than it needs to be? And at the same time, I love training on the RPA, because I can take somebody who's been in the business for a year, and you can run with anybody who's been doing it for 30 or 40 years, because they probably don't know it as well as you're going to know it. You're going to know the RPA, what it says, what it means, how to use it to your advantage. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So any questions for anybody? Any thoughts?
Not right now.
Welcome.
And Stephen Kaufman is here today. Stephen is one of our longtime agents. Lisa Lillo is here, another. Everybody else was occupied this morning, dealing with multiples or showings and whatever, so they couldn't be here, but they wanted to say hi.
Yeah, so you guys can tell Scott brings a passion, a conviction, a real high degree of integrity, and genuinely, similar to Frank, really pours into his clients who are his agents. Yeah, and again, going back to the team, you guys have had the great fortune of working very closely with Anthony and Robert. They are absolutely stellar. And also, again, a tribute to Scott. It's like they came as a package deal, to be honest with you, like they were all coming, whatever they were gonna do
All or
was all
nothing.
together.
Yeah.
And I've never quite frankly seen that before, and it also just gives you a sense of the level of loyalty and camaraderie and trust and respect they have for one another, which is a tribute to Scott's leadership.
And-
Well, and I'm also super lazy, so they do all the hard work, so I gotta have them around, right? And I don't have to work, sorry.
Yeah, and and as Scott said, several agents, a few of them here and several more are gonna be joining this brokerage, so that's gonna inject some real, and they're just great quality people. I've had the good fortune to meet several of them, and that will give a great boost of energy and just learning for everyone, because as I always say, none of us is as smart as all of us, so it's all about that.
I love that
people you
quote.
Surround yourself with, so.
And I'll just add that to your point of everyone has an agenda. On Scott's list of agendas, recruiting is several notches down, which is unusual for a Keller Williams team leader. And so we had to figure out, what does that look like and how does that work with us? But more importantly, what are the things above recruiting? And above recruiting is working with the agents that we have and making sure that the agents that we have better, stronger, more consistent business than they've ever had before. And that's top of the agenda. And through, and education, but that's the way that he does that. And in that same way, that's why agents will very productive agents will follow him because they know that this is what they're getting. So we're very excited to bring that perspective to forward living, really. And some of the models and things that have worked very well. One of the things that we haven't had, as well as some other brokerages, to be frank, is marketing, for example. And that's why part of what Scott surrounds himself with is a top-notch marketing guy who took care of marketing for 450 top Compass agents because they were running three Compass offices before they went to Avenue 8. So that's an important agenda for you guys to know, and I think it's a great starting point.
Well, I appreciate you bringing this up because the oldest rule in brokerage management is recruiting is the most important thing. And I have always disagreed with that. I think retention is far more important than recruiting. And I've seen it for decades where an agent becomes upset because their manager's not available because they're always recruiting. They're always on the phone or in meetings and, oh, Glenn, I'll get back to you. I got a recruiting meeting at 3:00. And I always looked at that and I thought, that's really crappy. Like, let's honor the people that have already committed to being here. And then you guys should be the recruiters. You should be the ones when you're talking to your friends and they go, oh, how do you like your office? I love my office. That should be my goal, is to make you say that you love your office. And then people want to know more about it. Because, I told these guys at our first meeting, I said, I am not a dialing for dollars recruiter. I refuse to do it because it makes my agents uncomfortable when they come into my office and I'm on the, no, I need to be available. So to honor you, I don't want to recruit. I don't like it. If we're doing everything right, other agents are going to go, I want to be in your office. I want a slice of that. I want to come in and see what's so great here. So I don't do that. Now, retention, I think retention is the most important thing ever. And Robert and I were talking about this and I shared it with Josh and Paul. In 10 years of Partners Trust, Robert and I had 3 offices and then 4 offices and then back to 3. In 10 years, we lost 10 agents, 1 agent a year. And I always thought, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. Like, I can't believe I lost another agent. And then when we sold the Pacific Union and sold the Compass, and I saw the attrition rate, I couldn't believe, why are all these agents leaving? it's the most disruptive thing for an agent to do is to change brokerages. Why would we tolerate losing several agents a week? And what it came down to is I looked at the quality of the leadership and the team, and I realized their focus is not on what they have, it's what they want. And I've never been that way. I'm gonna focus on what I have and make the best of it. So, and these guys seem to react well to that and support it. I even put it in writing. I'm not gonna be doing this. And I think probably the 5th time I did it, Paul just shut me down. He goes, we get it. We're not doing it. We don't need that. So again, take care of the people, people take care of the business.
And the brokerage business is changing.
It is.
So that I believe that fewer agents who are better prepared will do more transactions, because let's face it, the number of it might be, the market goes like this in terms of number of transactions. And we might be in a dip in the number of transactions right now, but the number of times that people buy or sell a house is not going to go down over time. People move, people pass away, they get divorced, people upsize, people downsize, and this is not going to, when there's an interest rate shock, people go, okay, we're not moving. That's temporary, because Scott and Josh and all of us have been in business long enough to see these upturns and downturns. What will change, I believe, is that fewer agents who are better prepared, who are at the top of their game, fewer agents will do more of those deals. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And when you focus on recruiting, most of which, let's face it, is new agents, okay? New agents are not going to do particularly well in this environment. Because new agents tend to be buyers, agents. Everybody is running around with the printouts of Zillow and Redfin, or have it on their phone, and they're thinking, why do I even need a buyer's agent? And some of the things you guys talked about. And we all know why you need a buyer's agent. This is the most expensive transaction you'll ever, most people do in their entire lifetime. People need representation. I agree. The NAR settlement and the changes, they're going to hurt the people who need the help the most. We all know that, but this is how the game has changed, and the people that will innovate and move with what the changes are and stay ahead of them will be those few realtors that control more deals. And so that's why, you got to get 10 a month or whatever. Well, the 10 a month are, 8 or 9 new agents and 1 productive agent. Let's focus on what we have and get some new, and we'll attract some new productive agents, and there you have it.
Yep. It's interesting, the recent changes with the buyer representation. When I got my license, there was no buyer agency. We were told in real estate school, Doug Diggles was my instructor at Century 21 back in 1989, that no matter who you represent, you work for the seller. And that was true until about 30 years ago. There was a lawsuit that created buyer agency. And now we're removing buyer agency, going back to the way it was 30 years ago. Somebody's got to dig up that lawsuit one of these days and fight this. But I always ask the question, how many of you are actually intimidated by or scared by call it the new model moving forward? And you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to. You don't need to be. There are so many ways to work within this. And guess what? The buyer always paid the commission.
Yeah.
Came out of the seller's number, but that's the number that the buyer just paid for the house.
Of course.
So that hasn't
The
changed.
buyer is bringing the cash to the
The
deal.
buyer is bringing the cash to the deal. And, for the last 30 years, it's been unethical to make compensation to the agent part of the transaction between the buyer and the seller. It's in their code of ethics. It's been unethical. Well, guess what? They just removed that. Hey, you can put it in your offer. And then if they counter it out, you can put it right back in the next counter. You can fight for your commission now that you couldn't do before. So there are some benefits to this new model moving forward. And I was talking with Steven just the other day about, what to put down on the buyer representation for the percentage that they're gonna pay. And I said, always make it high. Put 3%. Now, if you have an email communication with your buyer, go, look, I would never ask you to pay 3%, but understand, if I put 3% on there and the seller is paying 3%, I can get that 3%, and I might even be able to give you some of that as an incentive. Attorneys are working on that. But if I put 2.5 and the seller's willing to pay 3, the most I can get is 2.5. Why would we let that 0.5 point go back to the seller or disappear into the ether? Let's capture it. Let's find a way to do that. So keep those amounts high. And there's so many ways to do this. You don't have to be afraid of it. Yeah,
And then if they want to count, if they see the 3 and they don't like it, they'll just counter right back at 2.5.
exactly, exactly. And you're gonna figure out, I mean, think about it. How many of you have represented a buyer and it's taken 3 years to find them a house and close an escrow? And how many of you have taken a buyer out one time, found them a house, put them in escrow and closed it 28 days later? No? Well, you will get there. So, if you think about what you're worth, getting paid on a $5 million property, if you put them in escrow the first time you take them out and you close it 20 days later, somebody's probably gonna say, did you really work hard enough for, a couple $100,000 in commission? But if you do it for 3 years, right, it's gonna be there. So you have to always just be generating those leads and talking to your sphere. Look for the people that are empty nesters or that have new kids coming, divorce, probate, whatever. Plenty of people. The first rule of real estate, buyers want to buy and sellers want to sell. That'll never change. We just got to find them. Cool. Any other questions? Any thoughts? I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you very much. Right, thank you. Awesome. Is that it? Done?
Sounds like that's it.
Cool.
No, we're gonna have some games.
Yeah. I should write her. Somebody said, how do you
Yeah.
spell Carmen?
Put a phone in. I'll let you do it because I can't. Yeah, not